Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael.
And I'm Molly.
This is a big one, Molly. It's a very rare week that we have all three of the CBS reality trifecta, Survivor, Amazing Race, and Big Brother, all on one week, the same week. That is so incredibly rare, but this is a week that we have all new episodes for all three of those to talk about. We have the premieres of Survivor and Amazing Race, as well as the finale of Big Brother 27 to close out. So, this is a big one. Are you ready, Molly?
Yes, it's so exciting to talk about all these shows because some of these are our favorite shows coming back. Of course, Survivor and Amazing Race. So I feel like it's exciting times, and also the end of Big Brother. So I feel like with that, it's just an amazing week to talk about.
It's an amazing week with an amazing race. So,
Yes.
let's get started though with Survivor. It is Survivor 49, the big premiere. I thought it was a decent start. I think it's a fun cast. It's nothing too exciting, but I feel like we have a really fun group, and I am still, we don't need a huge blindside every week to talk about. I thought it was a fun start. But Molly, what did you overall think of this premiere?
Yeah, I agree. Also, it was fun to watch it together as we were together to
Yeah,
watch it in person. So that was fun. But I feel like so that obviously that added some
of
points
course.
to the
That
premiere.
makes it go way up. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like as a whole, like yeah, it was pretty expected. Like getting to know people and just overall trying to try vibes. It's already like just the first few days of it, so it's kind of hard to see like more of the dynamics there, and like you don't always know who are the alliances or like if they say they're an alliance, if they're gonna stick. So it's just like right now, it's just a lot of getting used to these people and seeing what they're like. But I do like the cast as a whole. I think it's a lot of fun as like different personalities, and I think they'll make for a great season.
Yeah, I think that this is a very typical start for the new era where you just have so many super fans, so many people just so awestruck of being there that you don't really like it takes a minute, I think, for them to be like, okay, I'm here, got to play the game and not just be like so excited and everything and nerves and all of that. And I think that probably makes us have a little bit of a slower start like the first week just because it takes a couple days to get used to that. And so I think that I have a lot of faith that I think this season will pick up and be a really good one. But for the premiere, I thought it was decent. It was fun.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's get started with what we saw here in this premiere. So we start with Jeff bringing everyone in and doing little intros, talking to a few people. Very typical start again for the new era. We used to have lots of different types of openings, but we really don't get that anymore. But you know what? That's okay. But anything stand out to you in particular from this?
Well, I thought it was interesting how Jason mentioned that he was an alternate. I feel like we don't always see that, like them breaking the fourth wall in terms of that. And we already saw that going into the season that we knew what was going to happen, or like that there were two alternates, which we talked about also during our draft. But I feel like with this, like seeing it on the episode, I was like, whoa, like that's even crazier. So that one stood out in particular.
Yeah, that was very interesting. It does kind of break down that fourth wall a little bit and say, yeah, I wasn't really supposed to be here. And I wonder if the fact that they knew that that was going to be on the show was what maybe
Mhm.
led them to really come out and be so open about the fact that two people got cut in Ponderosa before they actually started filming. Although I think there were other motives for that as well to kind of prevent it from happening again, but also them knowing, oh, well, Jason mentioned it and we want to include that. And so people are going to have questions. So we might as well just come out beforehand so that when they do see that, they're not surprised. And we've already kind of answered that. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I thought another one was Jake talking about his father having glaucoma. He mentioned that in his interview with Mike Bloom as well. But I thought that was a touching moment as well. And other than that, I feel like those were kind of the two highlights I remember.
I agree. I'm like trying to think back on their intros now, and I'm like, honestly, I don't remember a ton of the details. So
Yeah, I mean, we heard from Christina, I
yeah,
remember, but that was just kind of for some being so excited, being a super fan, and a long time in the making. I feel like the others that we heard were probably something very similar to that, but those were the two that stuck out to me.
for sure.
Then we get to the marooning challenge, and Hina tribe, the yellow tribe, wins a pot, machete, and flint camp supplies. And the other two, the red tribe, Uli, and the blue tribe, Kele, each have to pick one person to compete in the Fight for Supplies challenge. So this is something that we've seen in lieu of Sweat and Savvy for the last two seasons. They did this. I think it's much better than Sweat and Savvy.
Yeah.
I thought it was, if they're gonna do something to fill the 2 hour premiere, I think this is a better bet than what we had before. But Rizzo volunteers for the Uli tribe, and Alex volunteers for Kelly. So if you were in that position, would you want to volunteer for something like that and kind of that risk of potentially being the hero for the tribe and getting these supplies? But is it worth it to take that risk and risk not getting that and then maybe being seen as an early target?
I mean, it goes both ways. I feel like it's hard to like in my opinion for me, I wouldn't choose to do that. I just wouldn't want to risk that target. I also wouldn't trust myself like entirely to win it for the try. Like I don't know how
You
good I
should,
I mean,
Molly. I have
maybe
faith in
maybe I'd be
you.
good at that challenge, but I don't know. So in general, in challenges, you never know what's going to be also. So you never like going into it might not have been physical. Like Rizzo was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't do puzzles," and then there's a puzzle, so it's like that was a detriment to him. I mean, in the beginning, but we'll talk about his comeback. But so I feel like for that, like I wouldn't want to risk it. But it is then exciting when you do win and you can bring that back to your tribe and show that you were the one to bring them back.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to do it either. I think that it's not even so much necessarily the fact of risking potentially, putting a target on your back because you don't come back with anything. I think it's more so just that those first moments are so crucial when you get
Oh,
to the beach and you're bonding with your tribe. And I don't know exactly how long that takes. It might just be literally like an hour or two, in which case, probably not the end of the world. But if it's any longer than that, like that's really important time that then you're coming in and missing all of those important first moments, and I don't know that that's worth it, regardless of if you win or lose. I don't know that that's worth it. Like, yes, you're going to have a few moments of being the hero for your tribe, but by tomorrow, nobody's going to really care about that. And I think you've still missed those moments, those such crucial first impressions, first bonding moments that's not really something that you can necessarily easily get back.
yeah, no, that's a good point too. So it's a extra negative there if you're losing it for the tribe, and then you're losing that time for getting to know others. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's a risk and a reward in that.
For sure. Well, Rizzo ends up winning this challenge. He came from a huge deficit, and Alex was way ahead, finished that puzzle before Rizzo could even get one piece in the right place, and had so much time to be digging for the wheel. Was it like a wheel that they had to put on?
Yeah.
And yeah, and that was crazy to me that that Rizzo had enough time to like go over to Alex's puzzle and do his puzzle on top of it and do that entire thing and then still end up coming from behind and winning. That was crazy to me.
No, actually insane. When we were watching that together, we were also saying like there's no way that Rizzo loses this at this point. Like the way that they were editing it just showed that he was gonna come back and win it just because of like him in the beginning being like, "Oh, I can never do puzzles," and then
Hmm.
obviously they were trying to trick us there. But I feel like that was just exciting. Like that for this challenge, like I wasn't expecting like this much drama to start in the beginning of the season in terms of challenge winner. I mean like a comeback win kind of thing. So that was just fun to watch it.
Yeah, to me this was the highlight of the premiere, I think.
Yeah.
This challenge. And I don't normally say that about challenges in particular on Survivor, especially something kind of journey-esque like this, but this was really fun. I mean, this was like, because you're right, like we were saying, okay, there's obviously Rizzo wins this, but how? Because he's so incredibly behind. I'm like, unless Alex is just like, I couldn't even imagine what he could possibly do that would be like that would get him to lose it from such an incredible lead. And yeah, somehow, I don't know if he wasn't digging deep enough. Like maybe he just kind of like dug to a certain level and then was like, well, it's not going to be any further than that. But like, I don't know. I feel like it was pretty self explanatory. Like, it was like, okay, you dig right here. Like, this
Yeah,
is the place. And unless he was way off or like had it on the wrong side of I can't even imagine.
same. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like the sand, what it wasn't that deep when Rizzo got his. Like I don't know
Yeah.
where Alex was digging.
I don't know. I don't know, but Rizzo does end up winning this, and obviously his tribe is thrilled. It didn't seem like though that Alex's tribe was that upset. Like, yeah, they were like, "Oh, that's a bummer," but like, I don't think they weren't like gonna target him because of that.
Yeah, it kind of seems like I mean they didn't want to do the thing either. Like he volunteered to do it also. Like I think he kind of took on for the team and trying it. That I think
Mm-hmm.
they respected that.
They appreciated that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's kind of get into a little bit more of the tribe dynamics for each tribe. So we'll start with the Hina tribe because we didn't get too much of them. In terms of like the tribe dynamics, I feel like I don't necessarily have a great sense of kind of who's bonding with who yet, which makes me think that maybe they're not going to be going to tribal for a little bit, and we don't need to necessarily know these dynamics right away. But the first moment we get, Steven tells his tribe about his hearing aids, which I thought was a great moment. I think we were all kind of wondering, like, is he gonna try to hide this? Is this something that he's gonna be open about? And I guess the tribe noticed the little hearing aids in his ears, so that he couldn't really necessarily hide it. But I thought that was a nice bonding moment, a good place to kind of start with your tribe. I thought, and in other important news, Christina is deathly afraid of birds.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was a highlight of the episode as well, just seeing Christina reacting to all the elements.
Yes. It was very, very Surrey-esque to me.
Yeah.
Like in her first season, like she was famously afraid of leaves. And I feel like Christina's bird phobia is kind of reminiscent to me of that, where it's like, oh, what show did you sign up for?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's gonna be some good sound clips I'm sure we're gonna get, like, "Oh no, there's a bird again," like, "Get
Hmm.
away."
If this was Big Brother, you know they would do that. Like they would just
Yeah.
every time they show Christina, every time they pan to her, they would just like have a bird noise.
Oh my
Very similar
gosh.
to, like, Christmas and the Christmas jingle every time
Yeah.
they turn to her, so, yeah, Survivor's not that campy.
I know, but it could be fun if we get a bird segment again.
It could, it could. The only game segment that we got here was Steven telling everyone on his tribe that he wants to work with them. We got a segment of him going one-on-one with every single one of them, saying, "I really wanna work closely with you," and do you think that type of strategy is going to work, or is this going to backfire on him?
I mean, I don't see a way in which it does work unless he somehow is able to get if the someone he has to work with, like, changes on them or whatever, then, like, maybe that'd be good if they change on him too. But, like, if it's, like, the person trusts him and, like, all of them trust him, like, that's gonna end bad.
Yeah, I think that this is really dangerous. I think that you want to at least leave like one or two people off of this, I would say, just in an effort to like potentially like get to the merge at the very least without having to like betray someone like that. Because I think, and yes, they're not going to be on the jury. Like, I guess it really doesn't matter, but I think that it's so easy for everyone to just have a moment where they somehow compare notes and, they all realize, oh, he's telling us all the exact same thing. Like, I think if three of them decide to make an alliance together that he's not included in, and then one of them says something like, oh, I feel really great about Steven. He told me he wants to be the number one. And then another one says, oh, well, he told me that too. Like, I feel like this is just so likely to happen
Mhm.
versus like maybe, if he tells like two of them that he wants to work closely with them, like, I think it's a lot less likely for something like that to happen.
Oh, for sure. So little seed planted, I feel like, for us to see some betrayals happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we will see in future episodes, I'm sure, as we get a better sense of that tribe. But let's move on to the Yuli tribe. We got a little bit more from them. The first thing I thought was interesting was that Nate, he was talking in his pre-game interviews about whether he was going to be open about his job and all the films that he's worked on, and he ends up saying that he's a production assistant instead of a producer of these films. I I think this was, I guess, smart. I mean, like, I guess you don't want everybody to think that you're like some really, really rich guy who doesn't need the money. But I
Mhm.
also feel like there could be, like, if he was very honest about that, like, do you think that it would impact people like not wanting to send him home so that maybe they get like a spot in his movie, kind of like Mike White with the White Lotus?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I feel like it was smart for Nate to say it just to downplay it somewhat, in terms of like it's not a total lie, like it's still related to like production and all that, but it's not to that level. It's not he's not as low level as that.
Yeah.
So at least he can talk to it. But I feel like, yeah, it would be funny if they were like all sucking up to him and trying to be in the movies.
Yeah, like I've been thinking like for months about that with Survivor 50 with Mike White, like how many people are gonna want to get him out early because they want to be on the White Lotus. He's done that with the first three seasons. He's put people in that from season 37, so now he has a whole new pool of people if they're nice to him, if they don't vote him out.
Yeah.
So I would certainly be like, I'm not sending Mike home. And I mean, it's like Frankie Grande on Big Brother. Everyone wants to be best friends with Ariana Grande, and so they're not going to send Frankie home early. So I think that Nate could have used that to his advantage. Although I guess like it's still he could very much be like, well, I have connections to people in the Marvel world, and like even with his supposed kind of lower level job, he might still be able to like kind of be like, "Oh, I can pull some strings if you work with me here." So maybe that he can still kind of use that even with the lie he told.
Yeah, maybe. I'll have to see if he continues that or not.
Yes. Well, two people that we see have a very instant bond here are Sage and Shannon, which to me, this makes total sense. Just kind of from what we've seen of the two of them, it does not surprise me at all that they bonded.
Yeah, I agree. It made sense as soon as they met each other that this would just be an instant connection.
Yeah. But the two of them don't necessarily form a formal alliance. Shannon it does form one, though, with Savannah and Jawan. So they spend some time debating, especially Jawan. We see kind of go through their other options because they want to bring in a fourth so that they have the numbers. In tribes of six, you want to have a four. That's the magic number so that you can control the vote. Who do you think that they might choose? Who do you think they're leaning towards most?
Uh, and this one's hard. I feel like in general, like there's so many people, obviously. I mean, there's six, not so many, but there's a lot of people they could choose from. And I feel like I would want them to get Rizzo just because I feel like he's fun. So I would say him make the most sense.
You would just really think that Joanne and Nate would have bonded over their love of Marvel movies in that genre. It just doesn't seem like that happened as much as we all thought it would. And
Yeah.
so my gut would say, yeah, Nate, like obviously would be their fourth, but that doesn't appear to have necessarily been an instant connection between the two of them. So I don't know. We'll see. But this may not be a question at all because this alliance may already be crumbling here because Shannon starts to question aligning with Jawan a bit because Jawan tries to make a fire and he is not super successful at this task and he gets very frustrated with himself. And Savannah starts to question, like, hey, this little thing is making you so frustrated, are you necessarily the type of person that I want to align myself with? And so she is kind of, already having some conversations with Nate about potentially aligning with him and Rizzo. And so it seems like she is potentially considering getting Shannon and moving forward with Nate and Rizzo rather than Jawan and whoever Jawan wants to potentially add as their fourth in that situation. So, which do you think that Shannon and Savannah will move forward with, and what do you think she should move forward with? I guess may be two different answers.
Yeah. I That's a good question. I feel like as of now, obviously we haven't seen like a ton of their strategy talk and everything that's going on behind the scenes. I'm sure we're missing some parts of this. But from what it's shown to us, I would say that I think Savannah would, if she's already questioning Joanne, like she should stick maybe to the new group she's forming of wanting to work with Nate, Shannon, and Rizzo, just because like you don't want to have an initial like of feeling that, oh, like do I trust this person. So I think that would make the most sense. And also, I mean, obviously I want Jawan to make it as well, so that makes me feel like, oh well, that's gonna put him on the outs. But that's why I think she should do that and will do that.
Yeah, I think if you're already on, I mean, what is this, day two probably? Like, if you're already really questioning an alliance member, I just think that's a red flag. Like, I think that you shouldn't already be questioning things after 24 hours of being aligned with somebody. Like, if they are already giving you warning signs, I just feel like, yeah, abort mission. Like, if you have other options, if you're already having other people come to you and you feel better about them, even if you feel like, oh, I already committed to this other guy, just I think it's early enough at this point and things are fluid enough that I think you just gotta make the move now rather than waiting. And then on day six, seven, when, either maybe the numbers have dwindled a bit or not, things are probably a lot more locked in at that point, and you may not have the other option to go to.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's move on then to our Arkele tribe. And this is obviously the one that we saw the most of in this episode. And we start out, though, with the Shoe Bandit. Jake the Shoe Bandit is hiding someone's left shoe every day, he's decided. For whatever reason, this is going to be his thing. And he starts with Nicole's. He hides Nicole's left shoe, and she ends up finding it. But what do you think about this move by Jake to decide to have this moniker? And is it just a fun, harmless prank, or do you think that this could be dangerous for him?
I mean, I think it could end up being dangerous for him just so like you don't want to be on people's bad side, and if you're hiding people's shoes, like I think that's not a great look to cause this kind of stir up in camp if people want like to be all getting along and not having any drama and all that. Like obviously Jake wouldn't fit into that group of the no drama. So I think that in terms of that, it's fun for us to watch it, but I don't think it's going to be great for his game.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I think that there's certain like games and pranks and things that bond you with other people, whether it's the entire tribe or potentially even just one or two people who you can kind of work with to do something fun, or at least do something that could have good game implications. Like I don't even know an example of one, but like this to me is just the problem is that if it works out, in best case scenario, this does nothing good for your game. Like it's not ever going to be a positive for your game. It can only be a negative. And so I think he's probably just trying to do something to pass the time and something that he finds to be entertaining. But like there's just you're not getting anything out of it. So especially this early on, like when people don't know you well enough. Like maybe this is something that you do on the merge tribe. Once people like know your personality a bit, once you've kind of gotten a good footing in the game, and then you can kind of goof around with people and do things, silly things like this. But to me, like this is the first episode. This is like the second day. Like it's just too early, I think, to be doing something like this that could so easily backfire.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I feel like that's they're setting us up to see that I think, in a way of like, okay, there's already this happening day one, like there's drama gonna be
Yeah.
forming.
Yeah. Well, Jake does have a bromance that he finds with Alex. They are very close right away. They seem to bond very easily, especially on Jake's end. I don't even know I don't know that we heard so much from Alex's side of things how he feels about Jake. If he feels as close to Jake as Jake feels to Alex, but at least on Jake's end, they seem to be very very close. And they decide to form an alliance with Sophie. And then after kind of building a trio with Sophie, they then decide to bring in Jeremiah as their fourth. So, what do you think about this group? Do you feel confident that could last, or is this maybe just kind of a very early on thing that in 2 episodes is going to completely fizzle?
Yeah, I mean, I think as of now it seems to be strong, but you never know for what's gonna happen in future episodes. But in general, like I like this group of four. I think that they're fun and entertaining to watch. So I think that I would support this alliance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no warning signs to think like, oh, it already feels like these two don't trust each other or whatever. Like from what we saw, they seem to be on the same page this week, so I think that for now, if they don't go to the next, 2, 3 tribal councils and kind of are forced to turn on each other, I feel like they could be a four that goes into the merge potentially pretty strong if they end up making it that far. But of course, from what we've seen in the new era, the first tribe to go to tribal probably goes back. So, we're already down to five, and I think there's a pretty high likelihood that they might not all four make it to the merge, but we will, of course, see what happens with that. Alex also does form an alliance with Annie, which I thought was kind of fun and interesting to maybe an unexpected duo that I could see, people not necessarily thinking is a thing and can kind of keep a little bit secret, a la Kyle and Camilla, who, worked that very well. I don't necessarily know if these two are going to be that successful with it, but I like the two of them. I liked this little conversation they had.
Yeah, I agree. I think that maybe they'll work together, or if not, like they'll still be close-ish to each other.
I wonder if let's say they go to tribal next episode or whenever they do next, what I could see happening is that the other three decide that they want to target Annie, of course, and then Jake has a decision to make of, oh well, I'm really close with Annie, like should we switch the vote and bring someone in to potentially go after someone else who is in my four that maybe I don't feel as close to on like a one-on-one level. So I could see that they're kind of maybe building this story of which side is Alex going to go with.
Yeah, no, that's true. So that could be good to see that if that
That
happens.
could be
Good
interesting.
prediction.
Yes. All right. Well, we do get to our immunity challenge. I guess we kind of spoiled who wins here, but Hina and Uli win immunity, sending Kele, the blue tribe, to tribal council. Annie and Nicole notably struggled the most during this challenge, so they kind of were coming back to camp as the two that were the ones who, were debating which one of these two to send home. That we want to remain strong as in these challenges, and so Annie and Nicole are kind of the two that are potentially up for being voted out here.
Yeah, I mean, I was sad to see that because I like both of them. So I was hoping it would maybe switch to not be targeting either. But obviously, in the beginning, with all the challenges, and you don't want to have to go to tribal every time, like it kind of makes sense in some ways, but like it's also annoying that that's like the only deciding factor.
Yeah. Well, there's really not a whole lot of intrigue here. Once we get back to camp after the immunity challenge, the four of Jake, Alex, Sophie, and Jeremiah decide that they want to vote out Nicole, believing her to be the weaker one between her and Annie, and thus the weakest on the tribe. And they tell Nicole though that it's going to be Annie, trick her into thinking that she's safe. As viewers, though, I never thought it was going to be Annie. Really, did you?
No, I didn't think there wasn't enough of it to show like, oh, it could switch to Annie. Like it was all just talking about Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah. So it does end up being Nicole voted out from a 5-1 vote. I will say Nicole, I think, was kind of blindsided though. They didn't. I don't think that she necessarily actually thought that that was going to happen. So at least we got a blindside in week one.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel bad because Nicole is also the person that I had on my team from
Mm,
choosing her second, since she was friends with one of my friends. But see, now you know I don't have any inside information because why would
that's
I have
true.
chosen her if she went out first? So yeah,
Yeah.
sad to
Oh, and
see.
we didn't even talk about Nicole spitting in Jeremiah's face in an effort
Yeah.
to get some mud of his face, off of his eyes. What did you think of that?
Well, it was definitely a move. I feel like, I mean, in general, like you wouldn't expect to see that, but if Nicole felt like comfortable, like just go ahead, do it.
And she did say that he asked her to do it, and we didn't
Yeah,
see that on camera, but that is what she is saying in her exit interviews, so I believe it,
yeah,
and that does make it a little bit better, I guess, but I'm not sure why anyone would ask someone to do that to them, so still have just as many questions, but maybe for him instead of her.
yeah. That would be funny to hear more of his side of that story now.
Yeah, and I
But
will say I didn't love the vomit. I didn't love all the vomit in this episode from her, so
yeah,
that was, not my favorite thing to watch, at
I
7
know.
PM.
I guess we're seeing all the sides of Survivor.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. If anyone thinks it's fake out there, it is not.
No,
It's very real. But that is pretty much it for our premiere episode. Anything else we missed before we move on?
no, I think that covers it. We're excited that the season has started now, though. I feel like it's been a long time. We talk about Survivor all the time. And I mean, it's not been that long, but I feel like we had a little bit of period where I was like, I miss Survivor. So now that's back, I'm happy.
Yes, we had Australian Survivor, which was
That's true.
amazing, but it's different. It's nice to have US Survivor back for season 49 here. And yeah, even if it wasn't the most exciting, thrilling, unpredictable premiere, I think it was a solid start, a fun cast, and I'm excited for the weeks ahead.
Exactly. Same here. Well, now let's get into The Amazing Race season 38 premiere. So, this has now all Big Brother contestants with someone either in their family or dating, or there is one couple we have that it's Taylor and Kylan. So, both from Big Brother, but everyone else has someone wasn't related to the show. So, that's exciting to see and get to know some different people, family members of the castmates we've seen from previous seasons all come together and race against each other. So, what were your thoughts on this premiere, Michael, as a whole?
So I was so excited for this season because we love Big Brother, of course. So very excited. I thought this was a really fun cast. A lot of people who we've only seen on one season of Big Brother before that haven't necessarily done tons of other shows or multiple seasons of Big Brother, and so I was very excited to see a lot of these people. And I thought it was a fun premiere. I think my one note would just be that it felt like I missed something at the start because I was like, why are they all of a sudden already racing? Like we normally, have them all run to the starting line and talk to them first and have Phil introduce them, and we get all the introduction, and then he says, the world is waiting for you, go, and then we start racing. But with this, it was like, oh, they're already going to their first challenge, already getting a clue. Like, what is happening here? And so I think it just kind of, I felt like it kind of started almost like in the middle of an episode. And so that was kind of a little bit jarring. But once we got going, I thought the tasks were very fun that they had to do. It was very fun to see everybody. And so, yeah, I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. We were texting during it, and you were like, "Wait, did I miss something? Like this challenge is already happening? What's going on?"
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, it was fun to see, and I feel like, and with Amazing Race, it's like you don't really know the people for a while. I feel like sometimes even watching like in the regular season, and so this time at least we do know who a lot of these people are. So like that kind
Yeah.
of helped get more warmed up into this episode. But yeah, I agree. I feel like that was definitely an abrupt start.
Yeah, and that's a good point because if they did have done that in a normal season, I think it would have been even worse because at least here it's like I already know who I'm rooting for.
Mhm.
Versus in another season where you don't know any of these people, any of the teams, I wouldn't necessarily care like who wins that first challenge because I
Mhm.
haven't even been introduced to them. Like I don't know their names, I don't know anything about them, and so I don't
You just
know
know the
who I
color that
want
they're
to.
wearing.
What? Sorry.
You just know the color they're wearing.
Right, exactly. So I would be like, okay, well, I haven't even heard any of them speak yet. So, like, I don't care who wins this and who loses. But at least here, I'm like, okay, I do have some investment in them already. So I know who I want to do well. So, like, if they're going to do it this season. But I do kind of feel like, okay, if I was watching as somebody who is just an amazing race fan and not a Big Brother fan, I don't love the way that this started.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of the challenge, what they had to do was human bowling. So they had one player or one of the teammates getting on a sled. They had to push them on the ice to get a strike, and whoever got that first won, and they would win an express pass. That means they could skip a challenge, any challenge they want, within the first 8 legs, and then the last place team will get a hazard. And so that would be an extra task they have to complete in this first leg. So there was a lot at stake actually with this challenge as well. So that made it exciting for whoever won, and not great for whoever was going to lose that. So Taylor and Kyland ended up winning that. And then Enzo and Jack finished last. So as we talked about it, we feel like it shouldn't have started with that, but at least we kind of knew these people. So there was that. But
Yeah, I
then
mean, it felt very Big Brothery to have like to give immediately give somebody an advantage and somebody a disadvantage. Like that is
yeah.
so Big Brother coded. So I think maybe they're trying to kind of like almost do a Big Brother Amazing Race in a way, if that makes sense, where it's like, okay, we're gonna start off with this challenge, just like Big Brother seasons start off right away with a first competition before the HOH, even in the last couple of seasons, where they give somebody like an upgrade or a downgrade in season 26 or in 27 they did the the mastermind trying to save Julie and all that stuff in the premiere. And so I think that they kind of maybe tried to adopt some of that into the season of The Amazing Race, which that's fun. I think if they do things like that to kind of add in a little bit more of like a strategic social element to the race.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, speaking of the social element, they already did that too because Taylor and Kyland, from winning their express pass, they actually got a second express pass to hand off to someone else. And so before the game even starts, they have to choose another team and who they want to give this to, which was interesting. We could see kind of like the deliberation that they were having, like in their interviews later on, like explaining it. That was aired on the show as well. So I feel like you could kind of see some of their thought process, but they went with Jag and Jess. So what did you think of that decision to give them the pass?
I did not agree with this decision. I love Taylor and Kyland. I understood their thought process behind it, that they don't necessarily want to give it to a team that they already know they're going to be working with, and so they want to make new allies with this, which I think smart decision. I think that reasoning tracks. I don't think that giving this to Jag and Jas was the right move, because Jag and Jas are a team that they can probably pretty well assume are already going to be pretty good at this race.
Yeah.
And I think that you want to maybe give it to well, also they're a team from season 25 that doesn't have a ton of other representation on this other than Izzy, who already hates Jag, as we saw. And so I think that it would have been smarter to potentially give it to a team from season 26, because there's so many of them on this season that I think if you give it to somebody like Christine and Rubina, I think that would have probably been who I would have gone with, because then you also gain an ally with Tucker and Eric, because obviously Rubina and Tucker are dating. And so if you give this to Rubina and Christine, who maybe aren't going to necessarily always be the strongest team that's going to be at the top of the rankings there, but Tucker and Eric are, so I think you probably give it to Rubina and Christine over them, but then you also gain two allies for the price of one. And
Yeah,
potentially more with other 26ers. So sorry. Yeah, I think that would have been what I would have gone with.
I agree. I didn't think this was the right choice either because you could tell like they were just going to be strong competitors, and the whole thing about the season is what I hadn't really thought about, but now that you're explaining it, I'm like, yeah, like that makes total sense. So they went with the wrong decision there, basically, is what we're saying. But so be it.
But they also only had like a few seconds to think about it.
Yeah.
So like I can see how in that moment it's like, okay, we just need to pick somebody like
Mhm.
let and Taylor does already have a little bit of history with Jag because they did I mean they might have also, had a relationship other than this, but they in see during BB26 they did kind of like a what became Big Brother Unlocked. They did one episode of during 26 and she did that with Cody and Jag. And so she probably already had a little bit of a relationship with Jag, at least at the very least from that. So my guess would be that maybe she's like, okay, I don't know that Jag's automatically on my side, but because I have a little bit of history with him, this is something that can solidify that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, because they had such a quick time turnaround of when they had to decide. It just kind of like was
Yeah.
a spur of the moment kind of thing. But it was exciting to see at least that there was some strategy involved here, a little bit, I guess, in terms of what's going on. But then, which we don't really get that in Amazing Race, so that's fun to see.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and then because Enzo and Jack got their hazard, it came up pretty quickly actually. And instead of riding on a tandem bike from the port of Volendam to the cheese market, like the rest of the teams, they had to first eat one herring each and then ride there on a clog bike. So much different experience for them having this hazard. And I felt bad for them. It kind of just seemed like they were just losing right after the next. But what did you think?
Yeah, I don't want to eat herring. I don't think I like herring, but this could have been worse probably. I don't think this was too horrible of a hazard. Like I think it was a good difficulty level, I guess,
Yeah.
because it wasn't something that was going to be like a death sentence automatically to them. Like if they were, already doing pretty well, then they could probably do this and still catch up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was fine for a choice of a type of hazard.
Yeah. Agreed. But in this episode, we had two main challenges. So we had first with the teams, they had to pick up 30 bowls of cheese from the cheese market and stack them on traditional carriers, deliver them to a nearby market. And the other one was one member of each team has to go into a greenhouse housing of 42 varieties. Sorry, let me say that again. And the other challenge is that one member of each team has to go into the greenhouse that has 42 varieties of flowers. And they each must find, or each person in there has to find and pick out 9 of them to arrange them in a display that matches the example. And there were lots of different flowers in there. So these
Yeah.
teams were going through it in the greenhouse. But what do you think of these two challenges?
I really liked the flower one, but I I think it was so unfair that some of the first couple of teams got to do it like in broad daylight
Yeah.
with there's lights on, and then suddenly the lights go out, like right in the middle of the teams doing it. And I was like, was this on purpose? I actually couldn't tell, and I still don't think I know whether this was actually on purpose or not.
Well, I mean, I don't think they expected that to happen. Like, I feel like the way that that happened, then they're all like, "Oh, have to go get headlights now." Like, they just like were
But
like,
like, did
"Okay,
producers know that that was going to happen, or
yeah."
was that
I
a
don't know.
surprise to them?
But that's what I'm wondering too, because I feel like they wouldn't have planned it at this exact time, or maybe they just didn't know what time it was gonna be closing the roof to like cover from the sun.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It was interesting. Like, why couldn't they just leave it open for this challenge? Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I would have thought that either they would have done that as the first teams were in there to make it fair that all the teams had to do it with the same difficulty level,
Yeah,
or not do it at all. And you don't want some teams to have so much of an easier time than others. That seemed I don't love that, but I don't know whether that was something that they could help or not. Like when this might have been something that they didn't expect to happen. So I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. But I mean, it certainly made it a whole lot harder, and I guess I appreciated that because we got some fun drama and emotions from people having a hard time with this, especially Kat. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, I especially that challenge I liked.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was an interesting one to see. It just wasn't totally fair for for all the teams,
Yeah.
based on the light situation. But now let's go into each of these teams in the order of their placement. Just some quick thoughts on them as the first episode, as we've seen, just the premiere. So very fresh episode for us to go off of. But we obviously know them from Big Brother. So first up, we had Jas and Jag. So obviously, we knew they were going to be a strong team. They end up coming in first. So what did you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they came in first here is just a clear example of why I think it was probably a mistake for Taylor and Kylan to give the express pass to them, because I think it's such an easy excuse if they were to be like potentially upset at all that they didn't pick them, to be like, look, you guys don't need it. You're gonna be fine. Wanted to give it to another team that, actually might really need this, and get curry some favor with them, versus Jazz and Jag. Like, Jag won more competitions than anyone in the history of Big Brother, basically. So it's like you are going to be perfectly fine with these challenges. And I really love Jas, though. I think that the two of them are very, very fun together. And I think that they are going to be a very fun team to watch.
Agreed. And then second place we had was Tucker and Eric. So I feel like it's just fun to see Tucker back on our screens again, and having him with his brother is fun as well. And I think that they're already off to a great start, very strong competitors. Also, as Tucker also won a lot in his season. So I think with that, like, we know that they're going to be bringing the competition this season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we didn't get a ton from Eric yet, but I love Tucker. Tucker is great, very fun to watch, always willing to make his life more difficult to entertain us, and what more can we ask for in a reality star, really?
Yes, exactly. And next up, we had Izzy and Paige. So they came in third, which I was happy to see them come in third. I feel like we had two just boy teams first, so it's good to see that some diversity there. Women team coming in third. So, what did you think about them?
Love Izzy. I was so honestly, I think of everybody on this cast, I was most excited to see Izzy when it was first announced who was going to be on this, because we just didn't get enough of Izzy on BB25. Like, of everyone, her story was so cut short, and as soon as she left that season, BB25 went straight downhill. And I am so excited that we get to see more of Izzy, especially with Jag, who she absolutely hates. And I think they are going to be so much fun to watch. I loved when she called out Jag for getting eliminated and saved by a twist on BB25. I was a little bit surprised that CBS even allowed that to be added in there, but I guess it's not a Big Brother. So I think that's maybe something that BB tries to forget about, but I loved that she still holds that grudge, and I am so excited. I hope that both she and Jag stay in this game long enough to continue to get to see this rivalry play out.
Yes, agreed. That will be exciting to watch if it does happen. And next up in fourth place, we had Christine and Rubina. So at this time, Rubina and Tucker are still dating, but now they have broken up. So it was
Yes.
interesting to hear her say that her boyfriend. I was like, wait, what? But I was like, oh, because of when this was filmed.
Yeah.
Um, but so that could be an advantage for her in this game. We'll see. But I think that they're a fun pair here. So I'm excited to see them do well in this race as well. I hope that they continue to stay in the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think Christine seems very fun, but I just selfishly kind of wish that Rubina and Tucker were on a team together so that we could have gotten Zach and Corey Wurtenberger on this season, who are alternates. I think that we already have Taylor and Kylan team. I think having another BB couple would have been fine, and then we could have added in our work bros, and then this cast would have been even more perfect. So that's my only slight bitterness, but I very much love Christina and Rubin together. I think they seem very fun, and I think will be a very fun team to watch.
Yes, agreed. And next up, we had Natalie and Stephanie coming in fifth here. So, what did you think about them?
Yeah, I love seeing Natalie back on our screen. It's been way too long. She has not been on a show like this since 2019, I believe. So it has been quite a while. And she is by far the earliest. Oh, no, sorry. Jack and Enzo, although Enzo has competed on a more recent season of Big Brother 22. So Natalie, for Natalie, it has been the longest, I believe, of anyone since she has been on our screens. So she was kind of the name that I was most surprised to see because it seemed like so many of this cast is from the last like 3 to 4 seasons of Big Brother. So she seemed like a bit of an outlier, which almost worried me a bit because I was like, ugh, I wonder if she has the relationships with people with this cast to where, in assuming that there are going to be some social elements to this season that they add in because it's a Big Brother season, I was like, ugh, I hope that that doesn't work to her detriment to not have maybe the close relationships with everybody. But so far, they, fifth place out of 13, not too shabby. I think that it certainly seems like they are a formidable competitors. So I am excited to see them.
Yeah, I agree. So that's it'll be fun to see how they do throughout the season as well. But next up we had Jack and Chelsea. So Chelsea brought her dad Jack along, which is fun to see this duo. I feel like obviously Chelsea's a really strong competitor, so I'm excited to see her back. And also previous winner Big Brother. We have a few of those, so it's good to see her, and I'm excited to see how she does.
Yeah, I like her father so far. They seem like a fun pair. And yeah, I mean, of course, Chelsea was amazing on Big Brother. So I think that I have no reason to believe that she will be anything less on The Amazing Race. And of course, I think all the BB26ers they have some pretty good numbers. Now, I mean, who knows if Angela is going to be working with them, but if she is, then they certainly have the numbers to do some damage here. So I will not count out any of our BB26 cast, and especially not Chelsea, because of course she is our winner from that group.
Yes, for sure. But next up, we had Hannah and her sister Simone. So I'm excited to see Hannah back here on our screens too. And her bestie, Ashley, just won Big Brother Sport. I mean, we're talking about it in a little bit. So not a big spoiler because you probably watched it if you're listening to this episode. But so that's exciting to see Hannah back. And I'm excited to watch her and her sister compete.
Yeah, I love Hannah Chata, and Simone seems like such a joy. And they just like I think I was telling my friend when I was watching this that I was like, I think that they might be, besides Taylor and Kyland, of course, and of course Izzy, but I think that they are definitely in my top three teams now. And I love Hannah, but like I didn't necessarily come into this thinking that like she was gonna be the one that like I'm rooting for the most, but just watching Hannah and Simone, I just really, really love them,
Me
and I
too.
am definitely rooting for them, and I certainly hope that they make it really far, and I think they have a good shot too. I think that it seems like there's a lot of relationships that Hannah has with a lot of the other in this cast, and so I think that they certainly seem to be pretty well positioned.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully they continue to do well in the race. Next up, we had Joseph and his brother Adam, and I feel like it was fun to see as well. Joseph back on our screens. Obviously, we know with Taylor and Joseph they used to date, so it's going to be interesting to see those dynamics there, and if they're still on cordial terms, which they say they are, which I would hope they still are as well. And they're just friends now, so we'll see what happens there. But what did you think about them?
Yeah, I think that Taylor and Joseph are great. I think they're like best friends still. So
Yeah.
I have no concern that they are going to have any type of drama as being exes. I think that they left on very good terms from what I have can gather from, obviously not in their inner circle. Who knows? There might, be private things going on between them that we're not privy to, but from what we have seen publicly, they are still very, very close friends and support each other and, can very cordially be in groups together and not have it be awkward. So I fully believe that the two of them, they joked about it during the flower challenge. Like,
That's true.
Joseph was saying, "Oh, Taylor was went up to Joseph and said, "Oh, are you getting these for your girlfriend?" And he's like, "Not you." So, I think that they have that type of relationship that they can joke about the fact that they used to date and are now close enough that and it's been long enough at this point too that I think they're totally fine. And yeah, I mean, I just love having Joseph on my screen. So, always happy to see him.
Yes, for sure. But yeah, next up then it was Kylan and Taylor to finish. So with Kylan and Taylor there together, it's exciting to see them. Like I feel like I heard about them being a couple and everything, like you see pictures and everything, but we haven't actually seen them interact in like the global more national sense of watching them on TV together. So it's exciting to see them working together and just get to see more into their relationship.
Yeah, so this was interesting because when this cast started to leak, everyone was like, "Why would Kylan and Taylor be paired together?" Because like there were no rumors, to the best of my knowledge, before that about them dating. At least nothing credible that I think most people kind of believed. And so it was like, this is so random. Like, why would the two? Like, we know that they're friends, but like this just feels like an excuse to have them both on the show and not having anyone to pair them with, I guess, or a way to get Taylor on at the very least. And so but when, then as they were racing and people were taking pictures of them during the race and all this stuff, and you would see them like holding hands or kissing or whatever, and it was like, whoa, okay, I guess they're dating. And so, yeah, they kept this pretty private until they started filming this, which is kind of shocking in this day and age that they would be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, I love both of them, and I don't know necessarily what their current status is. I don't think they're still dating, but I don't know if they're still like what kind of terms they're on. I think they're fine, but yeah, I'm very curious to watch them. It's weird to, I think, see them like in a coupley
I
sense.
know.
It's weird.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. I mean, I did see a picture of them last night from the finale together, but it was like in a group
Okay.
of them together.
Okay.
So maybe,
So at least they seem to be good if they're not still
yeah,
together.
yeah. So they were in a
Okay.
group setting together at least. So we'll
That's
see
good.
if they're still together. I'm sure we'll hear more. Maybe, hopefully. I mean, they kept it a secret, so maybe we won't know.
Who
But
knows?
then we also have Angela and her daughter Lexi. So I'm so excited to have Angela back and on our screens. We missed her, and so excited to see her and her daughter. So what did you think?
Oh my gosh, I love Angela. I love watching Angela. And so I just really, really hope that she's here long enough that we get to see some drama with Angela. And whether it's with Tucker, we know Angela and Chelsea, I don't think we're on good terms coming into this. And I'm not sure what kind of terms that Angela and Rubina were on necessarily, but probably if Angela and Tucker maybe aren't on the best of terms, probably then that spills over to Rubina as well. But yeah, I just love Angela, and I hope that whether it's like a U-turn that everyone votes on or whatever other like potentially social elements that we add into this, I hope Angela is there long enough to experience that because you know that she's probably going to be the target of whatever that is, and then that will make Angela have a classic Angela meltdown. And I think we all need to see at least one of those before she sadly probably exits the race in the next few weeks.
Yes, totally agree. So that will be fun to watch if that does happen for us. And then we had Kat. Well, speaking of meltdowns, Kat and her boyfriend Alex. Kat was having some trouble with the flowers and doing the bouquet and getting one that wasn't totally right. So I feel like, I mean, Kat was just probably just hiding emotions and just being there a long day and everything. Just like all came up, and she was just frustrated and it all came out, but she ended up getting there, so she's still in the race with her boyfriend, and we met them or I met them when I was in
Yeah.
with
Okay. So you met
Dallas.
Alex?
Yeah, so the Alex was there, like, taking photos, and I didn't realize it at the time that that was her boyfriend, but now obviously, like,
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh." makes sense. I saw them like talking to each other the whole time, and like it just
Yeah.
made sense that they were dating. I just didn't know that going into it, but so I'm excited to see them and now see how they do. I mean, this wasn't, I feel like, a good testament into how they're gonna do in their race. Like I think it just because of how Kat reacted there in that moment that kind of set them back. But I think overall they're going to be pretty strong competitors.
Yeah, I felt really bad for Kat when she realized that she still had the scarf and that she
Yeah.
needed to go back because the clue said that you have to return your entire costume. And I thought that was actually a very interesting moment because that's probably something that, like, little details that they say all the time on clues that we just don't necessarily hear. It's probably like there's the main clue that they read, and then there might be other little details and things that we don't necessarily hear them read out loud. And so this was one of those times where it was like, oh, you must return your entire costume. And you don't know what they're going to do if Kat hadn't realized that at the moment, and then they get to the pit stop and Kat's still wearing her bandana. Like, we don't know what they would have done. Would they have given her a time penalty? Would they have, made her actually still go back and return it, even though at that point they're way far away from it? Like, that would have been a death sentence for her, probably. So I'm glad that she realized it when she did, even though, of course, it set them back quite a bit. They were still able to catch up and not be eliminated here, at least. So yeah, I think that hopefully in future legs, once they don't have a setback quite like that, that they'll be able to improve their standing and, not necessarily be one of the first eliminated here. I definitely feel like they have potential. And yeah, I love Kat, so I hope that she does well.
Yes,
And I
agreed.
loved hearing their story of how they met.
I
That was
know.
really funny to me that they hated each other at first and then fell in love. So I thought that was a cute story.
I did too. I thought that I was glad to hear more about that, how they started dating and all that. So that was cute. Well, next up we do have newlyweds. Speaking of dating, but we had Turner and his now wife Megan. So I feel like that was exciting to see them on our screens as well. I mean, we've seen obviously on Instagram or pictures of their wedding and stuff like that, but now it's like, okay, yeah, now they're married and they're on the race. So they didn't do super well in this first episode. They came in 12th place here, but what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I'm a Turner fan. I know that Turner can be controversial because he loves being a troll online, especially on like Chat BCC. He'll make some comments that will get tomatoes thrown at him, and he, he loves to troll. And sometimes there are certain moments where maybe it's not the right time for that. Like right after Rachel's unfortunate situation, he was definitely in her prime trolling mode,
Oh,
and it was not necessarily appreciated by the likes of Brendan and others. But yeah, I it's fun to see Megan. We heard a lot about Megan Belmonte on during BB24, and so it's fun to get to actually meet her and get to know them and see their relationship. So I hope they do well. I unfortunately think that they might not be long for this race, but I think that it'll be fun while we get them.
yes, for sure. But then in last place, unfortunately, was Jack and Enzo. So because of their hazard, that definitely set them back and in the race, and they were able to get pretty close actually at the end there. I wasn't totally sure if it was going to be them coming in last or if it was Megan and Turner. So I mean, it kind of just made sense that because of the way that this leg went for them, that they were going to be in last.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be honest. Justice for Desi, and I am glad that Enzo is our first boot here. If for those who don't know, Enzo was on the Challenge USA season one, made it to the final, was partnered with Desi from Survivor, and he completely just kind of gave up. And Desi was such a strong competitor, really wanted to win that, and Enzo was not really trying his hardest and just kind of wave the white flag. And because they were pairs, that also ruined Desi's game, and people were very upset with Enzo for that at the time. And so, Enzo has always made the finals of every show he's done, both seasons of Big Brother and the Challenge. He made the finals, and so, or the final three, let me say. and this time quite the opposite. So I think they would have been, Jack seemed fun. I think that they would have been, given us some fun moments as a duo if they had made it farther. But of all the teams, I was very okay with them being the first one out here.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like I didn't really know Enzo that well. I mean, I watched him on Challenge USA, but I didn't watch him from Big Brother, so I feel like with that also, I'm like, yeah, he can go. uh,
Yeah, he was always just kind of like the guy who was a good alliance member, very loyal, always kind of had a guy group and made it to the end with his boys, and not the most entertaining way to play the game and very frustrating, especially during BB All Stars. But Enzo is just kind of the broy type that probably would have worked with all the other guy teams, and not necessarily the dynamic that we want. And so I was glad to see of all there, because there's quite a few guy teams on this season, and so I'm glad to see one of them be the first one out here, because
yeah.
we want the women to make it far. At least I do.
Yes, I agree with that as well. But now that closes up the episode of the season premiere. So, any future thoughts on what's going to happen this season, or just excited to see what's to come?
I'm excited. I think that this is a very fun group, and I am excited to see kind of what the dynamics are, because there's a lot of people who have been on the same seasons of Big Brother, of course. And so I think that it will be interesting as we go and get to see more of the teams, had their dynamic across teams. We didn't get to see necessarily like a ton of that in this premiere, but I'm sure that we will get that as the race goes on and they get to be on flights together and trains together and all that stuff. And so I'm sure we will get to see more of that. And I think that that's going to be when this season really heats up, because you have a lot of good game players, a lot of people that are, into the strategy of it all, which maybe Amazing Race doesn't always highlight. And so I think it will make for a very unique season, similar maybe to like the reality clash season where they had some Big Brother Survivor and Amazing Race All Star teams together. And that was a great season that I loved. So I hope that this is kind of similar to that in a way, and that we get to see some good strategy here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for this season, and I'm excited to see just what there is with the strategy, what you're saying, and all that, the relationships they have that are pre existing or not, and all that. That's all going to play into it. So I'm excited for that. But to finish up this trifecta of a week, we have to go to Big Brother season 27 finale. It has now come to a close. And last time we were talking about Big Brother, we hadn't discussed about Keanu and Ava being evicted. So just briefly, let's talk about them and any thoughts we have on them.
Yeah, I mean, last we talked, Keanu was pretty much, we kind of all knew that he was going to be the one evicted, but it hadn't technically happened yet. I thought that was kind of cute, the whole like mastermind way that they were like the voodoo, sticking the voodoo dolls and all that. So I thought that was cute, way to kind of use our theme here of the season and the mastermind and all that. And that's exactly what I think they should have done with Rachel's vote. If they're going to do anything, just still give us a normal structured week, but do it in a weird, fun way if you want to. Fine.
Yeah.
But, this is, I think, what they should have done for that. And so I had no problem with it. Keanu, I think we all kind of knew that he was going to go there, so no surprise. With Ava, also kind of no surprise. Once we kind of saw the way that week was going to play out, I think that there was some debate, like, oh, is it at all possible that Ashley could go here? No, I don't think that was ever really going to happen. So once it was the two of them on the block, pretty obvious that Ava was going to be the one to go there. So Morgan was much closer with Ashley. So I was very there were only I was really only at this point concerned about Ashley and Morgan making it far, because those were the two that really I would have been the only two that I would have not been really sad about winning this season. So as long as it wasn't going to be either of the two of them, happy to see anyone else go here.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like those just made sense for at this point in the game and how close that Vince and Morgan had gotten. Obviously, they neither one of them were putting each other up, so it kind of just had to happen this way. And I'm just happy that Ashley was safe in it all. So that was good to see. And next, then we had the final HOH competition. So there were three parts to it, and Morgan won part one, and then Ashley won part two. And the last few days of the feeds, they were spending of Morgan debating of whether to take Vince or Ashley the final two if she were to win HOH. So we had a lot of that in the live feeds that obviously like ended up not really being a factor, but being like a conversation at least of it being like, okay,
Yeah.
what would happen here was interesting just to hear it all. So what were your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I mean, it is so rare that the last few days of feeds have anything to talk about. Like, if you go back and look at Taryn's live feed updates, like in previous seasons for the last, I would say even week of feeds, but especially the last 3 or 4 days, like once the final HOH, like part two was played out and you kind of have all the information you're going to have before going into the live finale, like the live feed updates are like 15 minutes long, if that. And sometimes it's just kind of talking about like the season as a whole, like kind of going into the each of the final threes games and kind of dissecting, the like who deserves to win and all this stuff. And this season we actually had content. There was actually things to talk about. There was going into the finale truly not knowing which way Morgan would have gone. And
Yep.
it is crazy that Morgan and Vince were keeping those live feeds so interesting up until the very last second. And I have to appreciate them for that. As crazy bonkers as their relationship is, and as crazy as this season has been from day one until now, it has totally remained interesting and riveting to watch. And that is, I think, from what I can recall, since season 12 that I have been watching live feeds, I can never remember a season being that interesting from start to finish.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. They definitely were keeping us on our toes there and not knowing what was going to happen if Morgan were to win and then who she would have taken. So that was definitely a fun aspect of the last parts of the season. But then we see that in the finale episode, Ashley wins part three. So that made her the final HOH. And this was so exciting to see because I feel like we didn't really expect that to happen. Like, I mean, like it was a possibility, but like everyone was like, "Oh, it's gonna be Morgan. Like, she's gonna beat her." But Ashley crushed Morgan in the final part of the competition, and then she evicted Morgan and took Vince to the final two with her. So I'm so happy for Ashley for winning and making that decision. I think that was the right move. Of course, if we were hearing so much about Morgan's game, and everyone just thought Morgan would win this. So having Ashley against Vince gave her the best chance at winning. So I was happy to see that. What did you think?
Yeah, I truly thought Morgan was going to win this HOH. Like, I thought, sure, okay, you really don't know because it's kind of can be a toss up if neither of them really know the answers to the questions, then it's just kind of like who can guess better. But Ashley crushed her, and I mean, you just see Morgan winning all these comps, like so many vetoes and multiple HOHs, and all within those last like 4 or 5 weeks, really. Like, I think I want to say the last 7 weeks, Morgan won a competition at least, which is wild. I think that's right. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, please. But whether that's actually true or not, like she won so much that you just kind of have to assume, oh, she's gonna win this last HOH. Like it just Ashley hasn't Ashley won one veto in week one of this game and hadn't won a single HOH yet. So just statistically, if you look at history, like that just seems so more likely that Morgan would win this, but it's not even close. It's after, 4 or 5 questions. They don't even have to keep going because Ashley had won enough. And so I
Yeah.
was so proud of her, so happy. And yeah, I mean, my only concern at that point was like, okay, Vince is going to be in the final two. Now there's actually a chance Vince could win. Whereas if Morgan had won, she was going to most likely evict Vince and take Ashley, which at least at that point I would have been very happy with whoever won. So it would have been less stressful for me for 30 minutes after that. But very happy with the result.
Yeah, I know you texted that you're really nervous that it could be a Vince win, but I feel like you didn't get too nervous for that long because once they started answering questions from the jury, it seemed pretty obvious of who the jury was favoring here based on their answers that they were given. So Ashley absolutely crushed it from the jury standpoint. I feel like she just came into real lawyer mode and gave her speech and everything was hitting flawlessly, except Julie kept cutting her off, which annoying. But other than that, it was great.
Well, come on.
And
I mean,
Vince,
we had to have time for our 17-minute mastermind
oh my
section.
gosh, no, that was the worst. And then Vince, of course, couldn't even take accountability for any of the things he was doing. And so I think with him just trying to deny things and all of that, it just didn't really sit well with the jury. That it kind of just seemed obvious who was going to be getting the votes here.
Yeah, I mean, I was concerned really mostly because we saw Rachel taking up for Vince so much at the jury segment on Friday's episode, and there was so much talk of like, well, Vince, Vince is playing a great game. He's, manipulating like Morgan's HOH and he's, doing all this stuff. And I was like, "Oh God, Rachel, no. Like just don't like that's not at all what's happening. Like, he's he's not this mastermind that you think he is." That's Eric, Frankie, and Jesse actually. But, he
Yeah.
he I just was really worried that if it were to be especially I would say a Morgan and Vince final two, I was a little bit concerned like, "Oh my god, are they going to think that Vince was controlling Morgan's game and not the other way around?" That's what I was most concerned about. Once it was Ashley and Vince, I was a little bit less worried because Rachel, of course, was so close with Ashley. Will was so close with Ashley. Like I thought like, okay, if nothing else, even if they think Vince is a good player, they'll probably vote for Ashley just because they were so close to her, and it's like they want Ashley to win, just being like their close friend. So that alleviated some of my worries, but still I was like, "Oh god, are they going to not want to seem bitter?" And so they're going to vote for Vince thinking that Vince is like this, this Tyler Crispin or this Paulie Bohemian. There's like they don't want to seem like the bitter jury that some people think that those were. And so that was my only concern, but very quickly I would say like you said during the questions, Ashley killed it and like they were laughing at Vince's answer. Like Kelly was laughing when Vince was answering her question. So I was like, okay, they seem really, really proud. They seemed so happy when Morgan was announced that she joined them at the jury, and that they knew that Ashley had made final two, and that when Julie said that Ashley had won that HOH, especially like Rachel was so happy, and that I was like, okay, I think we're okay.
Yeah. For sure. So a little bit of worries, but didn't last too long. And then we had the pre-jury come back out on the stage, and it was revealed that Riley and Kat are still dating. So everyone went silent when that happened. There was no cheering going
No,
on.
the jury was like, "Oh yay, we're so
Yeah.
happy." I'm like, "Oh god, you have a lot to catch up on."
I know, except no, everyone in the in our audience or people
Yeah.
watching, whatever, everyone's like, "What? This is not good." But jury, they don't know. So that's gonna be interesting to see that unfold. But I don't root for this.
I mean, look, at this point, Kat has all the information. If she chooses to still be in that relationship, more power to her. Like, it's not at this point, it's not our problem. I think that the audience has said everything they need to say about it, and Kat has come out now with all the information. I'm glad that she was pre-jury, honestly, because I think that her coming out now and learning all this information and like I think that would have been so much for her to handle. So I'm glad that she was has had enough time now to make this decision and have some time privately to have conversations whatever she needed to have with Riley, and it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And The worst part of the episode, though, was them spending too much time on this mastermind reveal. I was like, "What is going on here?" It looked like the Traders Round Table. Like
It really did.
they just were trying to make this whole theatrical thing that just didn't hit and just wasted our time. But it did get revealed it was Jesse, Frankie Grande, and Eric Stein who were all the masterminds this season, getting revenge for being screwed over by the twists in their season. So it was fine. I mean, I wanted to fast forward even though I couldn't because I was watching it live, but it is what it is.
I mean, okay, here's what I'll say. I thought that this was actually a cute idea. I thought it was a really cute idea that the mastermind would be all these people who have been screwed over by twists in the past and that they have it out for the game of Big Brother. Like, if they're going to do anything for a reveal for a mastermind, like at least this like gave it a story that makes sense. And I liked the fact that there were little clues throughout the season if you paid a close enough attention that they had different masks and that they had little like their names written in different places and like bobby pins and whatever that gave clues. Like at least that shows me that they had been thinking about this for a
Mhm.
while and that this
Yeah.
was like planned out
The
for a
Easter
while and
eggs.
long time and like yeah like not like 2 days ago they just
Yeah.
decided to see like who was available and like that they were like oh shoot we probably should do a reveal of the mastermind like who would be good for that like I like that better than the answer just being it's Dr. Will like that was so stupid to me so I'm glad that it wasn't just that there was more to it than that it was way too long I really, really wish that they had spent that time not cutting off Ashley during her speech. That was so incredible that I think is something that like, it was gonna be clipped and go viral on social media, and now you're gonna have in that clip Julie saying like, "Okay, it's time. Okay, like, Ashley, thank you." Like, like, that would have been I wanted to hear her whole speech.
Yeah.
And I would have much rather the time be spent for that, or at the very least, bring out the pre-jury and ask them questions like about the game itself. Like, let's talk about, Vince and Morgan's relationship. Let's talk about Ashley. Let's talk about like, other things that mattered in this season and not just like, one segment on Riley and Kat's relationship, a little bit
Yeah.
about Jimmy and Morgan and Mickey. And then cut to the mastermind. Like that didn't satisfy me.
Yeah.
But the other thing that saved all of this, Eric Stein being on Big Brother in 2025. Who would have ever thought he has not been on this show in let me think. Let me count. Do math for a second. 13 years, I believe it's been. No,
Wow.
more than that. No, it's been 2009, 2008, I think is the last time he was on this show. However long ago that was, 2008 to 2025. I can't do math. 17 years?
17. Mhm.
17 years. It's been 17 years since he has been on the show. And I, he is truly the most screwed contestant of all time. For those who don't know, they explained it a little bit on the show, but he was America's player, and every move that he made in the game was controlled by America. Who he aligned with, who he voted for, who he nominated if he was HOH. He could not make a single move basically in this game without the approval of America voting. So the fact that they are now willing to admit that he was screwed by a twist and that Eric was even willing to be on the show for this is huge. Like that is something that I think so many of us as fans have been wanting for so long to see him back here whether I mean ideally for an all-star season but like I'll take it for this. At least it gives me hope that they have his number and that he's willing to come on for this like who knows maybe in a shortened like winter season something like that if they're doing like a reindeer games too something like that maybe there's a chance that Eric could be back for it so that was the one thing that saved this segment for me.
Yeah, that's true. So that was exciting to see him there. But then next up, we had Julie reading the votes. So it was revealed that it was a 6-1 vote in favor of Ashley winning. So only person who voted for Vince was Morgan. Everyone else voted for Ashley. So that was super exciting and very, very successful season, I would say, with seeing an Ashley win.
Yeah, I mean, her story is incredible from the day that the feeds turned on. Or no, sorry, it was before feeds turned on. We heard about Showergate. It was the first episode and the second episode, which was before the feeds actually came on. And I think everybody was like, "Oh God, if Ashley doesn't win this veto, like she's gonna be the first one out here." And then to go from that, for her winning that first veto to now ending her season, winning her first HOH, and winning in an incredible fashion, and killing it with her speech, so well prepared, and I just thought, what a story. It's so Taylor Hale coded to me in a lot of ways, and in all the best ways. Very different game, of course, but I think that very similar fashion of kind of this person who was almost the first one out, and being kind of unfairly treated a bit. Much less so in Ashley's sense from what we saw than it was with Taylor's. That was very extreme, but yeah, I thought just such an incredible win, and I was so, so happy for Ashley.
Yes, agreed. Very, very happy for her. And then it was revealed who America's favorite player was. So we had the top three of those people were Keanu, Rachel, and Will. But then who won was Keanu, and he got 65% of the vote, which is kind of crazy. I was like, wow, I thought Rachel would have had more here, but Keanu had a lot of the fans. So he ended up
Yeah.
winning.
Casuals loved Keanu. I think that the casuals felt like he was bullied by like Ashley and Rachel during that, especially during that one thing where Ashley had the speech when he nominated her, and then Rachel kind of joined in on it. I think a lot of people felt like Keanu was kind of bullied there, and by Jimmy in the beginning of the season, all these people had like these rehearsed speeches against him, and they felt like Keanu was, fighting his way through the season and the underdog who had to keep saving himself. Like he had that kind of classic underdog story, and people, the casuals eat that up and believe fully the edit when in reality Keanu was making a ton of dumb decisions. And I think some people who aren't big fans, I think, were kind of annoyed by Rachel, maybe during the season, kind of calling herself the queen and an icon and a legend and all that. So, I think that that there's a little bit of the casuals kind of holding most of the votes over the feed watchers and people who are more involved in the community and love Rachel and were so excited to see her back. So, not shocked, but definitely disappointed.
Yeah, for sure. But that gives us a close on season 27 of Big Brother. It's been a long time, I feel like, since we first started talking about it back in the beginning of July, right?
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
was right
so
after July 4th.
July 4th. So it's been a long time, but now we are at the end and we'll have to wait another how many months? 10 months till next season starts.
Something like
So
that, yeah.
so that's it for this season. But did you have any hopes and thoughts for season 28?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of, well, looking back at 27 for a second, I think that this was actually, I would say, all in all, one of my favorite seasons of Big Brother. I have, like I said, never been more invested from start to finish, and it's so rare, especially these days. Like, they really sped up the end game this season, which I think was great. And in recent seasons, they've really extended that end game. And so that was always a slog to the end. Like it always was kind of, okay, you have an exciting beginning and middle game. And then, once you kind of get to a certain point, it's like, okay, it's just kind of a steamroll and who's kind of going to win, or at least, a couple that are going to dominate and win all the challenges and make it to the end. And then there, not much to watch for the last few weeks, but that was not the case this season. Of course, the Rachel hamster wheel whole white locust situation was a one of the lowest points of the franchise, not even just the season, I think. But the fact that they were able to come back from that so quickly and remain interesting throughout the entire rest of the season after that, I think is even more impressive, because it was so like everyone was so low on it and at that point. And then by the end, I think the season really rebounded in a way that I never expected. And so, yeah, I think that this was all in all a really, really like special, chaotic, one hell of a season that I think is going to be very memorable, and I really, really loved overall.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like I wasn't gonna enjoy it after Rachel left, and that wasn't true. Like I still wanted to watch it after that, and that's a testament to their rebound there. So yeah, I agree. It's been a great season to watch and just a lot of enjoyment throughout, even if there were those dips. It levels
Yeah,
out. It all
yeah.
plateaus.
Yeah, and then for season 28 and beyond, I mean, I just hope that they learn from the Rachel situation that everybody deserves to go home from a vote and not from a challenge. I hope that they don't extend the blockbuster for as long as they did. I still am a fan of the blockbuster as a twist. I just don't think that it needs to go post jury. And I hope that they continue this kind of sped up endgame because I think it worked out really, really well. And I just hope that if they can kind of learn those lessons, what worked this season, which was a lot, and what didn't work this season, which maybe was fewer, but were big things. I think that if they can kind of correctly adjust for season 28, then I think they might be in a pretty good place. So it's all about the casting, of course, but I'm going into this next summer, I think, very hopeful.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they'll take the feedback hopefully and adjust where it
Eh,
needs to
they
be. I
might.
mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But until then, we'll have to just hope for that to happen.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week talking more Survivor. Other shows are going on, so many shows. So I don't know exactly what we're covering.
So
But
many. Oh
yeah,
my god, yeah.
just make sure you're
It's a
subscribed.
very busy time of year.
Yeah. But if you like listening to reality TV and podcasts related to that, just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts and also follow us on social media at Let's Chat Reality. And we'll talk to y'all again next week. Thanks for
Bye
listening.
everyone.